Hi folks, welcome to Black Gumbo. Let's talk about how to harden off your plants. So I'm sitting out here today potting up some cauliflower. And it's a beautiful day, good sunshine. You'd think that these plants ought to go into the garden soon because they're pretty good looking plants and they've got a nice root system. But that would be pushing it too quickly. That would be moving too fast. These plants need to be hardened off. So this step of putting them in a pot is only the first step of getting them ready to go outside. These are babies, very tender. And what I'm doing today is very stressful on these plants. So they're going to need some TLC for a while. We're going to need to harden them off. I'm going to tell you how. Hardening off is the process by which we strengthen the plants and condition them to outdoor conditions. So here's what I mean. When we start our seeds indoors, when we begin our seeds in seed trays or in just cups in the windowsill, whatever it might be, they're in a nice cozy environment. They're indoors with you. They're in the air conditioning or the heat if you're growing in winter, whatever. They're in a controlled environment. They're cozy and comfortable and they're soft. They're couch potatoes. They're lazy and they are not strong. And so for you to put them in the garden, straight from your house out into the elements, they would die. Check out this guy. This is a Chinese Hilton cabbage, a Hilton Chinese cabbage. And this cabbage has been up potted. It was up potted about 4 days ago, and it already looks much more healthy in this pot. Nice and lush, taut leaves, real healthy green. If I take this poor little guy, who doesn't look so poor right now, but if I take him and just throw him out in the backyard and put him in the ground, even under my row cover, he's going to suffer because he's not used to direct sunlight. All these huge leaf area is going to transpire moisture at different rates that it's used to now, and the wind, if you put it out in the wind's going to whip him around. He's not real strong. In fact, he's kind of floppy in there because his stem is not strengthened. You can see he's weak, and I can move him around like that. So he needs to be toughened up. This guy needs to be exercised. So when you harden off your plants, gardeners usually recommend a 7 to 10 day schedule. And each day you'll increase exposure to the elements by an increment. So I usually start with a 10-minute increment. First day, 10 minutes. Sometimes I'll try to push it to 15 minutes, but sometimes that doesn't work. Today I tried to push it to 15 minutes, and it probably wasn't the best idea, but 10 to 15 minutes is all you need. Take your plants out, give them 10 minutes of direct sunlight, bring them back in. So these guys will sit out here in direct sunlight for 10 minutes on the first day. 10 minutes is all they need. I might give them 15 because on the day I potted them up, they sat out for about 10 minutes in the sunlight as well. You can see these guys were literally out there for 10 minutes, and 10 minutes was enough. The second day I like to give them half an hour, 30 minutes max. On your third day, bump it up to 45 minutes. So basically your first 3 days you're moving in 15-minute increments. On day 4, I'll give them an hour to an hour and 15 minutes. Again, it depends on how they're looking. If they're looking really healthy and you put them out there and at the end of that hour and 15 minutes they're looking healthy, then you're good. Day 5, give them 2 hours, and from that day on I like to bump it up an hour each day. So day 6 I'd give them 3 hours. Day 7 I'd give them 4 hours. Day 8 I'd give them 5 hours. And on day 9, 6 to 6.5, and on day 10, they should be good for a full day's sunlight. You can play it safe and add a few more hours. But by that point, they're generally hardened off. So these plants, once they start getting used to the sunlight, they also have to get used to temperatures, especially if you're planting in the fall. Like these guys are fall crops, and they're going to start going outside. It's going to be cold out there, especially at night. And so when these plants start getting to about the 4 or 5 hours in the sunlight stage of hardening off, I'm going to begin leaving them in the garage at night. The garage is cooler at night than it is in the house. It's cooler than what they're used to. And so by staying in the cool weather in the nighttime, they will begin to acclimatize to nighttime temperatures as well. So that's an important factor, especially if you're planting in the fall, is to let these guys have some some cool nights before you stick them in the ground. So there's the hardening off process. There's not a lot to it. It's just hard work. It's up and down, in and out, back and forth, and keeping a schedule. And so, you know, that's active gardening too. That's part of it. It's not all about just putting plants in the ground and planting seeds. It's not always just about getting out there and digging in the soil. Sometimes it's about managing the growth of your plants and introducing them gradually into their new environment. Well, this is the third day I've been putting my plants in and out, and they're looking pretty strong, but I'm going to stick to my schedule. You don't have to be a slave to your schedule. If you pay attention to your plants and you watch what they're doing, they can often tell you when they're ready to go out. And you can see, oh, I'm leaving them out too long, or they're not quite ready. Pay attention to your plants. Only you really know. One thing you can do is take a few of your plants that are surplus plants and pot them up the same way and put them out for longer periods of time and see how they do. Maybe leave them overnight. Maybe cut your time down, your schedule down in half and hurry those plants through and see what happens. That'll tell you how your plants will do too. Just this is a thing that you have to do though. Whenever you plant seeds and start them inside, you got to harden them off. You got to toughen them up and get them ready for the elements outdoors. And that's that. Well, what we're going to do next, I'm going to plant these out in the garden, and I'll put that in a separate video when we're planting them out. I'll show you all that, but I mean, that's another 7 or 8 days, and at the target date that I want to plant these out, we have rain forecast. I don't know when I'm going to get to it, so I'll just close the video here and invite you to join us next time when we plant these plants in the garden under the row cover. Thanks for joining us on Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. Like us on Facebook. Please subscribe and share our videos. That really is encouraging. And follow us on Instagram too. We've got a nice little Instagram account with lots of good photos. All right, well, you guys have happy gardening, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.